Hi, I'm Preston Walls. You're with John Fortes on the Passive Income Investor Show.
The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com.
Are you a busy professional looking to diversify your portfolio? Ever wanted to passively invest in real estate but don't know where to start? John Fortes provides you with a guide to passively invest in real estate. This is the Passive Investor Show.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the passive investor consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndication. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to passive investors and help them master their passive investments in real estate funds. My guest today is Preston Walls. Preston funded and oversees the Walls Property Group and Walls Property Management. The companies are vertically integrated, offering construction management, property management, asset management, and syndications. He currently manages a portfolio of 80 buildings, valued over $300 million. Preston is currently building a 61-unit rise multifamily project in permit for a 53-unit site and renovating several existing value-add multifamily properties in Seattle. Preston graduated from Colgate University with a double major in economics and English. He serves on boards and advisory councils, including Discovery Montessori, Lakeside School, and the Good Times Project. In his free time, Preston can be found fishing, boating, wake surfing, skiing, and spending time with his two children. Preston, welcome to the show, and I'm excited to have you here today.
Oh, John, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Walk me back to how you got here. What got you into real estate investment and your journey?
Yeah, my journey goes back a couple generations. My grandfather kind of got started in the property business. He was a professor at university in Seattle, and his side hustle was a building he converted into student housing. And so he carved it up into individual units. He was a little bit ahead of his time in doing these micro studios. But yeah, he had this building across the street from campus that he converted. My dad came along, bought that building from him, and grew his portfolio of buildings. He was my father was an electrical contractor who acquired apartment buildings as job security for his electrical crew to convert to electric heat when times got lean in the contracting business. And so one day he woke up and he had more property than more work in his property to do than more work in the contracting business. And so that became his full-time job, and he shut down his contracting business. And from there, he developed some buildings, grew the business organically through new construction. And during this time, growing up against this backdrop, I was very much intrigued by passive income and what it can do for you and the lifestyle that it creates. My parents had a lot of flexibility with their time, and I benefited a lot from that. Just as a student, they were always at sports games and practices and events and all the things that happened during the day. And that was valuable and instructive and insightful in my upbringing. I knew that I wanted to have that in my life, have that flexibility from passive income source. But I thought that it was going to come from the stock market. And I also had another powerful kind of mentor in my life, my great aunt Gladys. She was a legal secretary, so it never earned a large salary, but she was the queen of dollar cost averaging. Every paycheck, certain amount went into the investment account, and she was a student of Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett, long-term holdings, really stable, growth-oriented companies that are consistent growers. And so she and I would have these really passionate, intense, in-depth dialogues about dividend growth, about earnings prospects, growth of stocks. And after school, I worked for 4 years on Wall Street, and I thought that's where it was going to be. But my breaking point came one night. I remember it so vividly. It was after dark. The office is still relatively full. The guy whose office was across the hall from my cubicle, right? The guy's office that you want to get to, he was saying goodnight to his kids on speakerphone with the door open, and it ripped my heart out, right? Early 20s, kids weren't really yet on my mind, but I knew that at some point I wanted it to be there, and it wouldn't look like me being at their soccer games if I'm at the office saying goodnight to them on speakerphone. So it was time for change. I moved back to Seattle and started working with my father at that point, and we built a ground up project together and renovated some other projects. I was able to basically acquire this skill as a developer, learning how to construct, entitle, finance, lease a mixed-use mid-rise building. And then in the downturn of 2008, he'd had enough, so he said, "I'm drop the mic and head out." So he retired then, and I've been on my own since then.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you got a lot of sweat equity in there. So when you moved back to Seattle, so when did you start working with passive investors?
Well, so I moved back to Seattle in 2002. I bought my first deal in 2003. It was a triplex. I still own it. It was a great investment. I house hacked it. So it was a triplex. I turned it into a 4-unit building. I lived in one of the units. I did most of the work myself in it. I did that one, and I was out of money. So the next one, I got 2 buddies together. They watched me through this project. They were interested in doing something similar, and the 3 of us put our money together, and we bought a 6-unit building in Seattle, added a 7th unit to it and its renovations, and that project went really well. So from there, and us during this time, I was a GP, steadily got some friends and family members. We refinanced the first one, and so I was doing more projects on my own. But that was how the syndication model started, right? I love finding these projects and finding these opportunities, these just kind of niche opportunities to add some value in a dense urban market where you can reposition something and improve it and increase the cash flow. Doing so takes capital, and capital is limited, and so when you're out of money, your options are stop doing deals, or do fewer deals, or look for some investors who want to go on the journey with you.
Yeah, that's essentially how it starts, right? We run out of capital, and then because we've proved the concept and we have capital working in other opportunities, but it takes time to nourish and cultivate that refinance moment, or even that sale moment where maybe you're divesting out of singles and moving up. All right. So yeah, that's been pretty much the journey when you hit on you ran out of money moment. So that's pretty cool that you had 2 partners that that basically came along for the ride and basically helped you start the company, right? So working with friends and family, that's pretty cool. That's always the first step. Now, what does it look like today when you're onboarding an investor? How does that process look like today for a new investor that wants to partner with you? How are you onboarding them?
Technology has helped a huge amount, right? Not needing paper documents anymore, being able to do it all through DocuSign has just been a huge way to streamline. The investor portal that we use is through Appfolio, and yeah, these investor portals are they're fabulous resources to compile, aggregate information. All the K1s are stored there. All the monthly reports are stored there. So, if an investor wants a historical rent roll or a P&L, they can go get it right there. But yeah, technology and investor portals have really revolutionized the onboarding experience.
Yeah, so that basically answers this next question, which is, what is something you had to implement in your business for passive investors? Is there anything else other than an investor portal that you had to?
One thing that we've used that has resonated pretty well with investors is, you can create these qualitative descriptions of what happened at properties, but oftentimes pictures are paint a really great story. So we've used Instagram, putting Instagram pages together for buildings and where there's progress going on. So to be able to see a visual representation of the progress that's happening at a construction site, it's fun to watch the progress that way.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So you're building a story through your social media campaigns. I like that. Hey, real estate investors. Did you know that you can invest in real estate with your 401k or IRA? Through NewView Trust Company, you don't have to worry about the volatile stock market to make smart money moves. NewView has a free self-directed IRA guide you can get right now. That's right, PI listeners. I said right now. Go to newviewtrust.com to get your hands on it and learn more. Since their founding, NewView Trust has strived to provide clients with the broadest possible choices in their IRAs. So head to newviewtrust.com to download their free guide that could help you invest your retirement account in real estate and much more. That's NUVIEW trust.com. newviewtrust.com. The more you know, the more we grow. Happy investing. Now, what do you do differently from other sponsors that benefit your current passive investors? What separates you?
I'd say the biggest difference. This is just a philosophical nuance of passive investing. My syndications are for a very long-term hold. So I go in with no exit date in mind. Most investments, have say a 3 to 5 or 5 to 10 year hold period. I view ownership of assets as very long-term in nature. And, I don't transact, or I don't sell very often to liquefy an investment. I would much rather extract the cash through refinance than a sale. My take on it is, one, the frictional costs of a transaction are expensive, right? You've got excise tax, brokerage commissions, debt, prepayment. There's just a lot of costs of transaction, and you've got to find something else that's of better return value, and a lot of time gets spent on that. So I would rather take cash out through refinance and deploy that into a new investment rather than selling an investment to accomplish that.
I find that pretty unique. You mind sharing what your OM looks like, your offering memorandum to your investors? What's that look like when there's an exit strategy through refinancing and other loan processes, but when they don't see the sale, what's that reaction like to your investors? I'm sure they already know because they're working with you for that reason, for that long hold. So what's that look like?
Two of my least favorite metrics are internal rate of return and equity multiple. And right?
The IRR is one of my least favorites, but I understand it too. I get it. But go ahead.
I mean, I love it because it's a useful comparative number, and it's compounding. So from that standpoint, it's a great metric. But the thing that I bristle with IRR is it assumes a sale, right? And if your goal is to not sell, and you're using a metric that requires a sale to calculate, the whole thing feels fundamentally flawed. So in the offering memorandum, we calculate a 10-year IRR so that there's a number there that investors can compare against other deals, right? You've got to have some way to benchmark this opportunity and compare it across the landscape of opportunities that you're seeing. So yes, in the offer memorandum, we do calculate an IRR and an equity multiple, but it has a large asterisk in my book.
Thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for allowing me to ask that. Now, one piece of advice for the PI listeners. Let's just add, the PI listeners are a passive investor looking to get into an opportunity, or maybe at the beginning stages, or they're a veteran or seasoned vet. So walk us through what your advice is for the passive investor.
So one, do your due diligence. Find an operator with a track record in an area that you like, and especially in my case, right? It's one thing to be in partnership with an operator, a syndicator for a finite period, 5 to 10 years, but it's much different to be in for longer term. So yeah, that's one. And part of the due diligence is just understanding track record and communication, and making sure that the communication has been there for past investments, and how those past investments have worked out.
Thank you. I love that. Now, Preston, how can we stay in touch with you?
Walls Property Management and Walls Property Group RE.com are my sites, and I'm most active on LinkedIn. But the best way to find me, especially during the summer, is out on the lake in Seattle. So if you're looking for a wake surfing opportunity in Seattle, that's where you can find me.
You're living that good life. I love it.
I'm trying.
Now, my favorite question to ask before I let you go: what is the meaning behind your company name?
It's a lot from my father. His stance on naming companies was, if you're not proud enough of what you're doing to put your name on your business, then you shouldn't be in business. It's a reflection of all that goes into running a company. Wow,
I really like that. And that was like powerful to hear that. Thank you for sharing, man. Preston, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, John, thank you so much. I love your show, and thank you for having me.
PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet, happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time, and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.